Welcome. In today's video I'm just going to show you how to configure a camera for face recognition that's using an Amiga AI recorder, and we're going to use the Freedom version 3.6 WebLink feature to do this. Now face recognition of course is where you can compare one face to another. Now there is a separate video on how to perform a face recognition search, so you may want to take a look at that. Now face recognition does require a fair bit of resources from the recorder, and there is a guide to help you understand how many channels you can have for face recognition and other types of analytics. Now I've just got this document open here, called the Amiga AI Compatibility Guide, and here for example these are different recorder models, and if you're doing the face detection via the recorder as well, you can have up to 4 on a lot of these models, so 4 channels of face recognition. On this bottom product here it can only do 2, so you understand there is a performance limitation. Now it is recommended, if you're using an NVR, that you use IP cameras that have the face detection feature inbuilt into the camera. This takes the load off the recorder, and as you can see, when you're using face recognition by the camera on some of these models, you can get up to 16 channels of face recognition, so just be aware of that. Now the requirements for face recognition are an AI Amiga recorder and a camera that is mounted appropriately for face recognition. It does require specific mounting requirements to work at its best, and I'll cover that shortly. We're using the latest version 3.6 VMS Freedom client, and we are using the Internet Explorer web browser. That is the most compatible at this point in time. While other web browsers do have a certain amount of compatibility, about 85 to 90%, if you want full compatibility at this point in time, Internet Explorer is still the web browser. And you do need to configure the web browser to install the ActiveX plugin, which I'll cover later on in this video. Now for the camera mounting, obviously I'm going to use the example that we get good results from in most circumstances, but different environments may require different mounting solutions. So the camera that we're using here is a 1080p camera, where it's set to a 1080p resolution at 10 frames per second. We're using a varifocal lens, so it's a motorized lens going from 2.7 to 13.5 mil. Now the mounting height should be between 2 and 2.5 meters, and the angle from the camera mounting height in relation to the face should be around 15 degrees, and the distance from the camera to the face detection area should be around 6 meters. You should avoid any backlight issues. It's very important that you avoid any type of backlight issues, either coming from the back of the field of view or from the sides of the field of view. And of course the area where the face detection should take place should be well lit using diffuse light. That is light that doesn't cast shadows over different areas of the face. So as you see in the example below, that should give you an idea. And here is the actual camera framed up. So this is a 1080p camera, and the pixels between the eyes at the detection point is approximately 55 pixels, and there is no backlight issue in the camera's frame around the face or from the sides. It's extremely important you don't have any backlight. Now I just wanted to show you an example of an environment where face recognition does not work well. Now the image that you're looking at, it appears to be well lit, but it has a backlight issue when that door is open. So this is not a suitable environment for face recognition. The placement of this camera, it does not work well. And I'll just show you when the door's open. So this is when the door's open. Now some of you may be thinking, well, I'll just use WDR or turn on WDR. But WDR should not be used in face recognition. It destroys the foreground image. While it makes the background look better, it actually destroys face images, and I'll just show you an example of that. So here you see the backlight problem with this location, and on the bottom left here you can just see an example of enabling WDR. What it does to the foreground face, while it improves the background, it actually destroys the foreground face. And if you don't believe me, just experiment for yourself. Whenever you test these face recognition cameras, you of course need to test it if there is any backlight at certain times of the day. Otherwise you will get very poor results. Again, avoid any backlight issue and do not enable WDR. Okay, now let's get on to the steps of configuring the face recognition. So the first thing we need to do is add a web link device to the Freedom Client 3.6 or higher software. Then on the recorder we need to create a limited user account for the AI search function. Then we need on the recorder to create a face database, or multiple ones if you like. And then we need to populate those databases with face images that you will provide. Then we need to configure the smart plan for face detection on the channel you want for face recognition. And then we need to enable face detection on either the recorder or IP camera if you're using an AI NVR. Then we need to actually enable the face recognition option, and also assign the camera to a face database, and also choose your preferred alarm mode. And then we need to create or make sure that channel is associated with an intelligent record schedule. Then we restart the recorder, and after the recorder has restarted we check our settings that they're still maintained, and then we can do test to see how good our face recognition works. So let's get started. I'm currently in Freedom version 3.6, and to create a web link I'm going to click on the cog symbol down the bottom here. I'm going to go to device setup tab up the top. I'm going to click the plus, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it W01 AI search. Now in case you're wondering about the naming convention, W is for web search, 01 is its recorder one. If you had multiple recorders, let's say it was recorder 2 you were doing this off, you would say 02 of course, and then just AI web search. And I'm actually going to copy that to the clipboard, that name. Then under device type I'm going to select Amiga web browser. Then I'm going to give it the address of the recorder, the AI recorder. In my case I think it's 226. And then the HTTP port, if it's not 80 you would change that to something else here, but mine is currently set at 80, so I'm going to click apply, and it should appear over here on the left, and it did. And click OK. So now I'm going to click on that, and I'm actually going to click on the C01 I see here and highlight that, and I'm going to paste that same name into that camera name and then hit apply. That just makes it consistent in the camera list that we're going to see over here. So I'm happy with that, so I can close that now. And we see over on the camera list on the right hand side we've now got our new web link device. So I'm going to double click to open that, and I'm going to go full screen. Okay, if this is the first time you've opened Internet Explorer, you do need to initially configure it to install the ActiveX plugin. So I'm going to click on the cog symbol on the top right up here, and I'm going to select Internet Options. Then under Internet Options I'm going to select the Security tab, and I'm going to click on the Custom Level button. Now I'm going to scroll down about 3-4 pages, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to change Download Unsigned ActiveX Controls to Prompt, and also initialize and script ActiveX Controls not marked as safe. I'm going to change to Prompt. I'm going to click OK, and yes, I do want to change, and I'm going to click OK again, and now I can log into the recorder. And if you want to test that the ActiveX control is installed, if you click on the live, and select the camera. Okay, so I'm seeing video, so it's installed. Sometimes if it says please install plugin, you need to click on the plugin and click allow. Okay, now we're going to create a limited user for the face recognition search, And to do this, I'm going to click on the setting on the top left, the setting icon, and I'm going to select account. And I'm going to click on the add down here, and you can give it whatever name you want. I'm going to say search, give it a password, and under system I'm going to untick all, and I'm actually only going to select backup and event. So they're the only two options for this limited account. And under search, I'd actually only tick the cameras that had the face recognition. And under live, I'm going to untick all that actually don't need live this account, so all of them are unticked. So again, I've only got the face recognition cameras. In my case, it's these. And I'm going to, and under system, it's only these two. So now I click OK. And there is the account. And we can test the account by logging out at the top here. And you see we only have these options here. So this is the limited user account. So I'm going to log back in as admin because I still need to set up a number of things. So that's the user account added. Okay, now we're going to create the face databases, or a database. So to do that, we click on the AI video query, and then right down the bottom we've got an option called database. I'll click on that, and then we click on face database config. Now you see I've already got some databases here. On most systems you can have up to 20 databases. So I'm going to show you how to create one. So down the bottom I'm going to click on add. Now I recommend you name the database for its use. In this case I want this database to include all my VIP people. So I'm going to call it VIP. Don't use spaces. So there's VIP. Now currently under registered, it's actually got no one in that database. Now it is important to understand that different types of alarms can be associated with a particular database. So now that I've created the database, I want to add some people, and that is called registering. Now to register new faces, we click on the details option, just in the right here, corresponding to the database that you want to add the person to, or persons. Then we get this screen here. Now you can add one face at a time or a group of faces. I'm not going to cover the batch register option here. I'm just going to create a single person, so I'm going to click on register. Now you can put the person's name here, but we recommend to de-identify the image. So I'm just going to put an ID that I have referenced in another location, totally separate from the face recognition recorder, that I know what this number is associated with, or who it's associated with. Now you can fill out the rest of these, but you actually don't need to. You could put what country you're from, but you actually don't need to do that if you don't wish. Now to add the image, you click on the plus. Now I've plugged in a USB stick, which my image is on. So if I go to my USB stick, my image is right here, this one here. So I'll highlight that and click open, and there is the image. Now of course the quality of the image will determine how well the face recognition will work. This is actually a good quality image taken from an original photograph. But if the image was poor, what you'll get is actually matches that may not be the person. So it is important to get quality images. So I'm going to highlight that to put a blue box around it, click OK. And here's a male. If it was a female, obviously you'd change this. And I can either keep on adding more by clicking the Add More button, or if I'm finished, which I am at the moment, I'm going to say OK. It says operation succeeding, and it says modeling in progress, which means it's mapping the face, so we can try to identify if that face is detected in future. And depending on the model of the recorder, that can take a minute or so, or a few seconds. So I'm going to close this window. And you see we've got one person registered now. It's showing up as 1 under the registered. So that is how you create the database and add people to the database. And if we go back inside the database, it says modeling succeeded. So that's now ready to use that face. So I'll close this window. So just to recap, under database, face database, this is where you add the images and create your databases. Okay, now we need to create a smart plan for face detection on our face recognition channel. So to do that, we click on the AI menu. Then we click the parameter menu to expose all the parameter options. Then at the top here, we click on Smart Plan. Then we need to select our channel that we're going to use for face recognition. So face recognition requires face detection also. So they're two separate functions. So my face recognition channel is going to be channel 9, so that's where I want my face detection to be enabled. And it's blue, that's what we want. If it wasn't, it'd be unhighlighted like that. We need to click on it to highlight it. Then we click the OK button down the bottom, and we wait for the operation to succeed, like you've seen up there before. It's very important. Sometimes if the recorder is very busy, you have to click on the OK a few times, or the apply. So that's it. We've enabled the face plan for face detection on our face recognition channel, or the one that we're going to use for face recognition. And now we can actually move to the next menu along under the parameters, which is face detection. And this is where we're enabling face detection. So once face detection is selected, we choose our channel, which again is number 9. So this is the camera that we're going to use for face recognition. And now it's important to understand that there are two options you've got under type. Face detection can be done by the recorder or via an AI IP camera that supports face detection. So in my case, I need it done by the recorder. So this option here instead of the camera, because this camera doesn't actually have face detection. But if it did, you'd actually select by the camera. And it's recommended if you are using an NVR model, using an AI camera that has face detection takes a lot of the load off the recorder, a lot of the AI processing. But in my case, I must do it by the recorder, and we click enable. Then I'm going to click OK to apply that. And we should see the operation succeed again appear. Now it's very important also that this is enabled only on one of either the recorder or the IP camera. And it should never be ticked on both. So that's okay in my case. So it's by the recorder in my case. Now the boxes that you see are maximum and minimum filters. Now sometimes, you usually don't have to worry about the maximum, but sometimes the minimum you may need to adjust. If you did need to adjust it, you'd click on the setting next to the rule option here. And for example, if I only wanted to, let's say I didn't want to capture people walking past this door, from left to right or right to the left, I could actually make this minimum box slightly larger. That would eliminate detections from a further distance. So that's something you can do, but don't make it too big, otherwise you'll miss the entire person's face. And the width of this box is between the eyes. Just think of it how big between the eyes the person is going to be in this scene. But you can actually leave it at default most times, but at times when you do need to change it, like if you have people walking in the background, obviously you don't want them because you won't get good results at a distance. So I'm happy with that for the time being, so I'm going to click apply or OK again. Okay, so that's the face detection enabled for the channel. So now we need to actually enable the face recognition for the same channel. So I'm going to click on face recognition, and again we select our channel, which is 9 in my case, and I'm going to tick enable, then OK, and we get our confirmation. So now we've enabled face recognition for channel 9 on this recorder. Now we have to associate the databases you wish to include for this particular channel. Now you can actually include all the databases if you wish. So to include databases, you click on the plus, and then you can either select all, or maybe you only want, you know, 1 or 2 for this channel. It doesn't really matter, it's up to you. So I'm going to select them all, then click OK, and then they'll appear here. Now it's important now that you tick the actual databases. So in my case, I'm going to tick them all. I'm going to click the OK button down the bottom right. So I'll just explain there are 2 different alarm modes for face recognition, the general alarm mode and the stranger alarm mode. So with general alarm, you can get alarm triggers from faces it recognises from within an existing database. An example of this might be you want a alarm notification when a face that is within the band database, for example, is detected. You would use the general alarm in this instance. The stranger mode tries to look at all the databases that you've selected here and only alarm on a person not appearing in the database or not added to the database. Generally, the general alarm is the most commonly used, and you can set a schedule if you like, but we're going to leave it at 24/7, which is the default. And under the parameters, the cog symbol, you can actually configure other types of alarm if you wish. These are the options, so we could do an alarm output from the recorder. And here are some of the other options you have. I'm going to leave that as default. You don't need to change anything. You'll find that this here is already set to the same channel, which is channel 9. So I'm going to cancel that. Going to click OK again. So that's the face recognition itself enabled. So just to recap, we have enabled face detection on the same channel and enabled that, and also now enabled face recognition on that channel and assigned databases to that camera or that channel. Okay, now we're going to create an intelligent record schedule for this face recognition channel. So I need to exit this window. Then I'm going to click on the settings up the top left here, and I'm going to select storage and then schedule, and under the record schedule I'm going to select the channel, which in my case is 9, and I'm going to configure this with an intelligent record schedule, and all days, go OK. So now it's got the blue on all the days. And then click OK, of course, to confirm your settings. Okay, so that's done. So what we do now is actually reboot the recorder, and then we check our settings again. So I'm going to select this option up here and reboot recorder. Yes, I do want to reboot, and I'll pause the video. Okay, the recorder has now restarted, so I'm just going to double check all my settings. I'm going to go back into the AI video query menu and select parameters. And first of all, let's check our smart plan. It's still active on channel 9 in my case. And yes, it's selected and highlighted as face detection. Make sure face detection is actually enabled on channel 9. And remember, in my particular case, I'm doing the face detection via the recorder. If you were doing it via an IP camera, an AI IP camera, you'd obviously select the camera option. But I actually selected the recorder option, and that is still ticked. So that's correct. And now I can go down to face recognition to see if that's still enabled. Select my channel again, and yes, it's still ticked. But there is an issue. Under the databases that this camera channel is going to refer to, none of them are ticked. And we need at least one ticked. In my case, I want them all ticked. So that's one item that didn't save. So I'm going to click OK again, wait for the confirmation. I'm actually going to just click away from there and back, and select our channel again, and just make sure they are ticked. And yes, they are ticked. Gives you an example of how important checking is. On occasions you may need to restart the recorder again. And my intelligent record should be still there as well. Storage, and again channel 9, and yes, I still have the blue. And now you would start the testing process. Now with the testing, I recommend you use more than one person to rotate. Sometimes it won't acknowledge a face in a certain amount of time if it's too close. So you do multiple walkthroughs and just position your face normally. Some people have a tendency to look up during these tests, which sort of defeats the purpose. And then after a few minutes you should review the footage. Now I'll just give you an example here. Now there is a separate video on how you do a search for AI faces, so I'm just going to go into AI and quickly show you briefly. But as I said, there is a separate video, and under AI search we search face recognition. Then I'm going to actually search by picture. I'm going to use the search by picture option. Then from the database I'm going to select the person, and I'm going to choose from the VIP database, click on search, and I'm going to select this particular person here. So a blue box appears around the face, go OK, should appear here. Then I'm going to select my channel that I've just configured, and then the day that you want to search for. Now these recorders only go back a maximum of 7 days on most of these here, so let's try going back there and then clicking on search, and there we've got 2 results. So gives us a probability, and of course wearing a mask does reduce the probability. That's how you would test and do multiple walkthroughs at different times of the day. As I said, you should avoid any sort of backlight, either from the back or the side. That will reduce the accuracy. Okay, now I'm just going to quickly show you how to subscribe to a face recognition database to get notifications of a face being detected from a particular database. So I've loaded the DMSS app on my phone. In my case I'm using an iPhone, but it really doesn't matter, it's the same on an Android. So we open the DMSS app, and then next to our NVR, our AI NVR, we click on the 3 dots to the right of that NVR, and we select device details, and then we select notification from the list. Tap the notification, Then we have to turn on notifications from this particular device by tapping the button on the right there. Now under period settings, by default it's all day, but you can actually select notifications only to appear on a particular time or a time period, but I'm just going to leave it as default. Now we need to select our type of notification. In our case it's a face alarm. So I've clicked on the face alarm option and then select our face recognition channel. In my case it's called Face Rec. And then we need to select our databases that we want to get notified from if someone from those databases is detected from this camera. And then we go back one, then we go back another one. Now it's very important here that you click save down the bottom. People often forget this and they don't click the save, and then it doesn't save anything. And then you can exit out again, and then you can test to see if you receive a notification. Now, under messages, I'll just show you an example notification, which is this one up here, and it's under the banned person database, and it's got the de-identified ID. And if I tap on that, I can get further detail, and it gives me the image comparisons of this individual. So that's how you configure push notification. Now, just before I wrap this video up, I just want to emphasize that with face recognition, how and where you mount the camera makes a big impact on the overall results you will get. Now, while it will be convenient to use existing entrance cameras that you may already have at a particular location, it's rarely the case that these camera locations are suitable for face recognition. They usually need adjusting in some way, either lowered or removed from a backlighting issue. So just keep that in mind. Okay, that wraps up this video. Thanks for watching.